G'day guys, how's it going? Fabulous morning. A little bit warmer, which is good. It's all snuggled last night. Anyway, pride, okay? Well, when you think about pride, what are the first things that come into your mind? Some think it's pride before a fall, and others it's, pride such as in gay pride, bi pride, and black pride, white pride, all that sort of stuff. Now, this had me talking with my owner about pride, where there's pride as in, pride as in gay pride, etc., that everyone is accepting of except for white pride. Now, a lot of people conflate white pride with white supremacy. I don't mix the two up because they're completely different. Being proud of, who you are is completely different from thinking that you're better than everybody else and that everybody is lower than you. There are features, genetic, cultural, otherwise, that mean that, that are unique to any sort of specific pride. Socially as well, there's different subcultures that are around the world, and there's no objection for me if someone wants to say, hey look, yeah, I'm white and I'm proud of it. I have no problem with that, because it's not white supremacy. It's completely different in my point of view. Why shouldn't someone be proud of their heritage? Why should they be ashamed of anything? It's silly that people are conflating the two in my head, and it doesn't really make sense. For instance, I could have pride in my Asian heritage, but I also know there's some things that are wrong with it. But it's just one of those things where it's genetic, nothing that you can really sort of change. However much you identify genetically, you're still the same. They haven't gone into gene therapy that much yet. No doubt they might in the future, but no. So, do you conflate or do you mix up white pride with white supremacy? And if so, why? Have many people told you that they are equal, and that, generally if you're a white person and you're kind of, yeah, I'm white, so what? I'm proud of being a white person. Do people then down on you or do you down on others for them and say, oh, well, then you're a Nazi? Or something else really negative, because that's just really silly. There's nothing they could actually do about the colour of their skin. So why are you being so negative? Or why are people being so negative on you for that? And given that a lot of people are into equality and equal treatment of people, why are they then treating you different because of the colour of your skin? No doubt that, yellow pride or Asian pride or something like that, you get a lot of flack. I'm one of the first people that go, well, bloody Asian drivers. And a lot of people say, well, you can say that because you're Asian. I said, well, yeah, but I know a lot of Asian drivers are pretty bad. Particularly the women. Well, what do you know? So I don't mind when people do that. But yeah, it was an interesting discussion I had, and wondering how people confuse the two, how they relate the two, and why people relate the two. The difference between white supremacy and white pride. I can only think what their motives are, but I try not to think too much about it. But you've got to wonder why they conflate the two. There's nothing wrong with actually, it goes back to the whole thing where, the superstition of, if you're born with a, so-called congenital defect, that you're somehow bad or a person in previous life, and that you're being punished for it in this life. So that's pretty silly kind of thinking in my point of view. But there are people that do think like that, and for some reason it seems to have been superimposed onto the belief that, if you're born white, then you must naturally have privilege. I can tell you one thing though, statistically, white cis people in the world are a minority. So for those who fight for the rights of minorities, who are you really fighting for? Or is it a competition on who's the smaller minority? When you think about it that way, we're all individuals, so each person individually is a minority, one in several billion people around the world. That goes into individualism, I think. I'm not quite sure about that. An interesting thing to think about though, it's like a beautiful, crisp, clear day, so it might be really cold tonight. Anywho's, travelling down in my red. I like red. It's nice and warming. Anyways, so pride, what are you proud of? Like, and what is it that you're proud of that you were just born into, that you had no control over, but you embrace it, you embrace your own identity, embrace what you are, how you were born, no shame. Because one thing is that if you accept and embrace who you are, you know, good and bad, you can then go on to make the world a better place. If you're in denial or you feel guilt over it, then my thinking is that even though you are, I guess, helping people, that comes from a really negative place. And when it comes from a negative place, I can't help but think that there are untold consequences and unknown consequences that happen when you come from a negative place of helping somebody for, like, you know, group guilt or, you know, just that wrong think that you have. But if you come from it and embrace the good and the bad, you can then get a balanced idea and forethought into what you do in helping others. But, you know, that's just my point of view and thinking, but, you know, being a cat, that's just what I do. So, pride. What do you have pride in? Things that you have control over, things that you didn't have control over. What does it mean to you to be proud of who you are, and what you have achieved? I'm not saying be overly compensating on, but yeah. And how have other people conflated pride with different things? Have people tried to make others ashamed of who they are, what they are? Things that are beyond their control. Things that they haven't, you know, some things that people say, oh, you just take it for granted, but then there are other things that people take for granted. One thing I say quite often is, like, you know, hashtag first world problems, because we have the luxury of being able to say, hey, look, this thing concerns me, other than like actually basic living. We have the luxury of looking into our spiritual, social impacts and environmental impacts, whereas a lot of people around the world, I'd say about 90% of them, are struggling to live, and they don't have the luxury of thinking about these things. Anyway, Tuesday, tomorrow's Sunday, and this weekend, Lifeline Book Fest is starting for about 10 days. They will have clothes, they'll have records, they'll have books. Oh my God, so many books. I think last time, a couple of years ago, there was a huge glut of 50 Shades and Twilight series that were there. OMG. Anyways, if you're not doing much over the weekend, next 2 weekends, or the week in between, check out Lifeline Book Fest if you're in Brizzy. Brisbane Convention Exhibition Centre, they will have some clothes, LP, records, old books, new books, a lot of pre-loved books, and some other knickknacks, I think. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.